Hi guys, I want to give you examples of different toxic metaframes and toxic metaframers. Because the faster you spot them, the easier it is. So one way to spot a toxic metaframer is instantly, like, there's the nonverbal, the verbal, the direct, the non-direct toxic metaframing. And what you want to be careful about is that you spot this as early as possible. And one of the ways is, for example, how fast she responds after having read your message. And I give you an example. It's a small example. It's not a big deal, but okay. So I was in front of this organic shop, and by coincidence, it was a very funny coincidence. I met the Spanish woman in front of the organic shop, and it was kind of nice. She laughed a lot. She found me very funny, and the whole situation was super funny. And she's also kind of a little bit into spirituality because she knows astrology and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, this is interesting, and but it was obvious she has children because she had one of these carts behind the bicycle. So I was like, oh, do you have children? And she's like, okay, we are driving around with a camper van. It's my partner and me and the child. And then she said, then we drove actually together, and she said, you can come over this evening if you like. And I realized that I kind of like her, okay? And when I was driving home the rest of the drive to my place, I was like, I don't think this is gonna work because I think that I would have to I have to flirt with her. She's just too cute for me. Okay, at that time. And then I said it to her in the WhatsApp, and I said it was a very nice offer that you allowed me to come over, but I'm gonna have to decline because I find you too cute, and it's just not gonna work that way for me. I would feel awkward in front of your husband, and she decided to not respond. And the problem is not that she would decline. The problem is that she decided to not respond. And if she had said, like, a mature adult would have said, okay, I wish you a nice, life or something, or just, have it was a nice short meeting and that's it. But she decided to not respond. And the not responding is actually a toxic metaframe. It's trying to show you, it's unconscious, and it's trying to show you, I'm more important than you are. I don't care about your feelings. That's why I don't respond, because my feelings and my family is more important than you are. And that is actually a toxic metaframe. That's what's hidden behind it. And then there's a lot of other toxic metaframes which can be very subtle. I was with a woman yesterday, and she was always nagging me, and she was like, "Do you always wear hats? Do you? You're probably a bum." And things like that. So she was nagging me all the time. Those were all toxic metaframes, and she was doing it all evening long. And I realized she comes out of a very toxic relationship, and she hasn't learned, like, proper manners and compliments. Instead of, yeah, she could have given me compliment, but she was doing, like, this narcissistic game. And because if you do a lot of toxic metaframing, it becomes narcissistic. And so watch out for these things, because you can only already spot them in the first half hour of the date. And that's just a setup for a horrible relationship. The interesting thing is we had good energetic chemistry, because she's a Scorpio and Cancer, so there was a match in that sense. And I could feel that it would become very tantric if we had, more intimacy, and we kissed at the beach, and we stayed for a while together. But it was my first date after a long time, and so I kind of went along with it, and I was just observing everything, kind of like passive. And at one point she was like, "You're smart, you're not that smart because you don't set your limits." And I then told her, I'm not setting my limits purposefully because I want to see how far you go. And that's the thing about observing and resting in abiding in the self, that the other person feels like they have a lot of space to expand, so they'll tell you stuff they would otherwise not tell you. And yeah, she spilled the beans on a lot of things, and let's just say she's absolutely not the person for me, in no shape, way, or form. And yeah, just wanted to share that with you, that you can spot that very quickly. So even being very calm and just observing, um, abiding in the self, gives a lot of room for the other person to express themselves. So you find out a lot of things, and then you'll see how quickly they start toxic metaframing. And remember, 80 to 90% of people nowadays are toxic metaframers. Stick with the 1/10 that are not.